when do you think Justin Fields will start? That's my question I'll pose to you, and then I'll give you my tidbit.
Damn, that would have been a great question for when I had the schedule graphic up. I mean,
Well, we'll talk about the schedule in a moment. You can pull that up in a moment if you want.
yeah, that's what I was kind of going off of for reference because I know they have a. I mean, it's not an easy start by any chance, by any means.
I actually have like a strong opinion on where I think he'll start, and so I'm curious to see what you think.
I'm just going off of past precedent of like Lennon starting, was it 4 games, maybe 3 games, whatever it was, and then
Yeah, I think
going
it was
in.
3 games.
I'm looking at the Raiders game right now. This pretty much being the reset point if anything happens. I think like post divisional game against the Lions, that's a loss. If it's a win, whatever. Obviously, if it's more of a loss, I think there's gonna be a quarterback change. But um, yeah, I feel like things start to change 4 games into the season. If they're 2-2, they might just stick with Dalton for a little while longer. If you're coming out of that stretch of going into the Rams, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Lions, which like none of those teams are cakewalks anymore, really.
Pull up
If
the
you come out of
schedule,
there
by the
one
way, so you
three,
can
what's
pull up
up?
the schedules. Pull up the schedule while you're talking, so that we can see.
Yeah, yeah. So I could tell
We
you
talk.
exactly what I'm pretty much going off of, but um, yeah,
Also, real quick before we finish that conversation, um, yeah, I don't know what you've heard, but it sounds like from what I gather that they like Justin Fields and that he's performing very well. From what I've heard from camp is that he was picking up things quickly as far as like, a lot of times you're worried about whether you call a play and then the guy doesn't isn't able to recite it, a couple plays later or something like that, or is missing easy things like, handing the ball off, snaps, and everything. It seems like Justin's fitting in very nicely with the team and has like there's no issues so far at all, which is good.
yeah,
That's obviously I didn't think there was going to be, but it's just nice to hear that everything's going smoothly. But anyways, now that you've got the schedule pulled up, like I said, where do you think where he started? Do you think first off, let me start by saying, do you think he starts game one? Let's put it that way. Let's get that out of the way first.
no, no. I
Okay. I
as much as I
agree.
would like that to happen, I can't see it happening, especially against the Rams, which are like loaded.
I agree with you. I think that that would be not a great start against a team that was the best defense last year on freaking Sunday Night Football. I don't think that would be a good place to start him.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I agree with you. Not week one. So now that we've gotten that question out of the way, when do you think he'll start realistically?
Wait a second. Is this schedule correct? Hold on. Oh, this might be an old schedule, isn't it?
Oh,
Am I
is this the
crazy?
previous schedule?
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, wait, where is the Rams game itself?
Oh, I did a dumb. I don't know why that was I thought I swear to God I sent you the right schedule. My bad.
No, that's
That was
fine.
my
I could
That's
pull it.
on me. I sent you the schedule. Holy crap. Steph Curry is absurd. Real quick, since again we're watching this live, the Golden State Warriors are up 13 points right now on the Lakers at half. And Steph Curry is doing Steph Curry things.
Yeah, I know.
I
Looks
The
like it's
shot
gonna
he just
pull away.
made at the end of the half is stupid. You basically have to pick Steph Curry up at half court, and that's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm actually getting to halftime right now, so that's actually coming up for me right now.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, well then by all means watch this last shot because it's stupid.
side
Can't
reaction. Oh,
believe it.
okay, yeah, getting on 3 seconds left.
Literally, I can't. Literally, literally he goes through three people trying to cover him, and then just fades away, drains the three, and then just runs into the locker room. Like,
But I'm
yep,
up
regular
13.
day. God, I don't know if I'm ready yet to say that he's the greatest shooter of all time. But man, is he making a really good argument for it over his career. When his career is over, I if he continues like this, man, he definitely will be. He'll have every statistics, every stat, and he'll definitely be the best shooter of all time. Uh, and that's not disrespecting other shooters like Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, Larry Bird. Um, but yeah, it's just absurd what I was just watching right there. You were able to find the regular schedule, by the way.
Yeah, let me throw that up very quickly here, and I can
God, I
go.
can't believe I sent the wrong schedule. I just can't read apparently. 2020 to
It was
2021.
the
Yeah,
first one
just
that popped up on Google, so I get it
see that's
for sure.
just me being dumb. Just can't. it was just so exciting. It even had a slot that said who's gonna win, and I was like, oh, my dumb, like, you're dumb again. The dumb ape brain was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let me put that in there.
Okay,
All
there
right,
we
now
go.
that we have the real
This one's the
schedule,
correct one, at least the
now
first
that we have
12
the
weeks.
yeah, now that we have the correct schedule on on the screen, what do you think is the realistic? And you can talk through it. When do you think is the realistic game that he takes over?
Okay, and also thank you for pointing that out in chat. I don't know what chat wasn't updating in the background for some reason, but
Oh yeah, he did point it out real quick.
you think the first game against Green Bay? Okay, and that's what we're looking at
See, okay,
late in
go.
the
So
season.
you talk your talk.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, pretty much what I was going off of before. Rams, I think we all agree, same reason. Defense too strong. Brights, or the lights are a little bit too bright to start out with. Not that that's an issue. The Bengals, again, they're not. These aren't like joke teams. Like, I don't even think the Lions are going to be a joke this year. They're not going to be as bad as they were last year. That's for sure. Obviously, the Browns are really good now, and yeah, I feel like if you're going to the Raiders, then that's kind of like a turning point. You've played 4 games to start off with. If you're sliding 1-3, maybe it's time to pull the plug and switch it over a little bit. I guess it really depends on what the offense looks like and if it's like a defensive issue. But I don't know. I feel like going to Las Vegas, you get there, you get a chance to. Oh, yeah, I see the Packers game is next. Now I see why you say that. Not that late in the season. But yeah, that gives you a game to actually like warm up and get used to the playing in the regular season, and then go into the Packers, which obviously is going to be a much more scrutinized game. And then the Super Bowl champions right after that. Like, you enter a really tough stretch, but you give yourself equal amount of games. So you give Dalton 4, you give Fields 4. Obviously, you don't think you're switching back, but you can have a good comparison to put everyone against, because then you go into the bye week, and then it's the Ravens, Cardinals, Lions, Packer. Like, that's not an easy schedule. Like, there's no part of this where I'm just like, oh yeah, you could just let them, screw around for like 3 or 4 games. They'll be fine. It's tough. So I think,
So
I think the Raiders makes the most sense.
where he'll start.
Where he will start if he's given an opportunity. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's so hard to predict what the offense will look like at that point. But like, that's, if it was gonna happen, I think it would happen then. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
What about
I
you?
am going to go out and basically say that I wholeheartedly agree with him in saying that it's going to be Green Bay. And the reason why I full-heartedly agree with him, and I think that that's it, is because I think what happens if you look at the schedule, I think we lose to the Rams. I think that's a given with Andy Dalton as our quarterback. We lose to the Rams. I think then we go to the Bengals, and I think we win against the Bengals. Now, the Bengals game is going to be an interesting one, because if we lose, that's an embarrassing loss because it's the Bengals. I mean, granted, yeah, they have Joe Burrow and everything like that coming back from injury, but Joe Burrow is supposed to be expected to be ready for game one, but he's not going to be 100% probably, or up to game speed uh, by the time game two rolls around against the Bears. So even if that would be an embarrassing loss, I think that would be the indicator right there. I think fans would start clamoring immediately for Justin Fields to start if we lost to the Bengals. Now, I do think though that we're most likely going to win. So I think right there you're 1-1. Then I think you look at Cleveland. I think you lose against Cleveland. So now I think you're 1-2. Then I think you go to the Lions. I think we beat the Lions. So now you're 2-2. Now, if you look at the team, depending on again how those games go, if he plays absolutely poorly like Mike Glennon did, well then everybody's going to be like, listen, you have to go to the other quarterback. We can't watch this bad football anymore. But if Andy Dalton's playing like serviceable and they go 2-2, I think this is right here. I think the Raiders game is where you see the tide turn. And I think it's because if we go into a stretch of games, like you said, where it's the Packers, Tampa Bay, 49ers, and then the Steelers, and we're 2-3 after losing to the Raiders, I cannot see Andy Dalton sticking around after that. Like, I can't see Andy Dalton going into the Packers game if we're 2-3, starting that game like without the fans losing their minds.
Yeah.
And you also have to realize too that like Matt Nagy wants Justin Fields to take over as quickly as possible too, because he wants him to finally run his offense, so that way Matt Nagy can show why he shouldn't be fired at the end of the year. So like that's another thing that's playing into this too. But I think, yeah, I think we win against I think we lose to the Rams, win against the Bengals, lose to Cleveland, win against the Lions, and I think you're 2-2 going into the Raiders game. And I think that really, I think Justin Fields, if Andy Dalton wins the Vegas game well, I think if he does well, like if I think he plays well and wins that game, he's going to start in the Packers. But I think if he plays poorly, uh, depending on how bad he plays in that game will depend on whether or not he gets benched that game for Justin Fields, or if the change happens in the off, or like in the in between week. So I think that's where it happens. I think if we lose to the Raiders, and Andy Dalton doesn't play well, then people will go, listen, Justin Fields needs to take over. But I think if Andy Dalton loses is playing awful, like throws 2 interceptions in the first half, then I think you could see Justin Fields come out at halftime and play, and then he would start the Packers game. Either way, I think that's the most likely start for him is the Packers game. Now, I think, like I said, you could see him start the Tampa Bay game, because I think if Andy Dalton wins the Raiders game convincingly and we're 3-2 going into the Packers week, I think he'll start against the Packers, because there's really not an argument you could make as to why he wouldn't, depending on how the losses were previously against the Browns and Rams. Like if we're competitive in those games and we lose them, then people aren't going to freak out as much. But I think that that's the indicator. I really think that the Raiders game is the indicator. I think Andy Dalton starts that game, and I think he starts it with a 2-2 Bears team. And depending on how well he does in that game, determines whether or not he's going to start against the Packers or Justin Fields.
And I think regardless of when he starts, I think we can both agree that he's not. I mean, you're not going back at that point. Like that's the most important point. Just like you have to decide when it's going to happen.
People also need to realize that what Andy Dalton is there for is not only is he obviously he's a bridge quarterback, but Andy Dalton's basically what we're hoping Andy Dalton is, which is what they were kind of hoping Mike Glennon would be for Trubisky. Is basically Matt Nagy. It's not like Justin Fields is not going to walk into game 1 of the regular season knowing the entire offense by the back of his hand. Like it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen realistically with any quarterback. So what you're hoping Andy Dalton does is hold off having Justin Fields come in for like a good, at least 4 or 5 games. So that way Justin Fields has the time to see the offense, be in the film room post offense, breaking down games, and see how the offense works and learn it better. So that way, then when he walks in, he's not walking in with like a basic understanding of the offense. He's walking in with like, at least a more advanced understanding than if he had started game 1. So I think that's also what you're hoping Andy Dalton is. So that's why I think there's also a comfort level there too, where, if Andy Dalton wins against the Raiders convincingly, like I think depending on how Justin Fields is in the offense, like how well he's learned it, or how well Matt Nagy thinks he's learned it, is going to depend on, or going to determine or help determine whether he thinks Justin Fields should start as soon as possible or if they should hold off as long as they can. That also is going to play a role into it too.
Yeah,